Fractured Sky is a brand new game, and today we're going to look at the mechanisms of the game, the aesthetics and the components, comparisons to other games, the theme, and of course, we'll give you our upside downside because we always like balanced reviews. We'll give you a little snapshot today of where we stand on Fractured Sky. This is Legendary Tactics. Okay, Fractured Sky. Now, I do want to say straight off the hop that we got a review copy of this game, and it is an absolutely gorgeous game from IV Studios. As ever, we do not let that impact our decision making. These two guys here, they absolutely don't benefit. I'm definitely going to be keeping this game. They will not be taking this home with them.
That's not what he said.
No, we usually do, whoever wins the game gets to take the game home. So
sweet.
we may do that.
For that.
So, but no, we love to give you a balanced review. So at the end, we'll give you an upside and downside, what we like, what we would change, and we'll try to be very fair to the game. So I'd like to start first. Thanks for coming, Gastel Rusky. Gastel is our resident mechanism expert. He taught us the game. There is a teach out there for you. We have a playthrough out there. But give us a quick snapshot of what mechanism does this game use, or what will feel familiar about this?
This is an area control game predominantly, with resource management involved as well. However, one of the most intriguing things for me was the hidden information, the objectives, and the basically your objectives were hidden throughout. And so it was area control, but you didn't know which areas you wanted to control.
That's the key.
There was also a bluffing mechanism with picking your value to go after certain areas, and that generated a lot of interesting moments where particularly you, Flash, were questioning what I was doing with I
thought I had you nailed. Yeah. There's a beautiful system with these little white where you could either be going all in with a 10 or just with a 1, and so you're guessing like, did he go all in or not? And I couldn't tell, and I completely got it wrong.
It was pretty fun. And the other thing I like about the area control of this one is I never felt like a part of the board was completely locked off.
Yes.
Right? Even though you had a lot of power there, you have an instant 3, I could have really made a strong play, placed some ships in that area, and I could have taken it. So I never feel like I'm completely locked out of this region.
I had an instant 4.
Oh, an instant 4. And so one of the things, though, is I always miss one of the towers.
Yes, yeah.
One of those fortresses.
And it is a worker placement game, too, where you're essentially placing towers or markets in order to get benefits that way. So there's this competition of when do I place my units, because I'm going to go out and attack with skimmers and what are these called?
Airships.
Or I'm going to build my infrastructure. So do I go for victory points? Do I go for engine building in order to then buy information? There's a lot of different moving pieces with the mechanisms.
And there is that sort of Euro aspect where you're building an engine. So the first few turns are about generating resources so that you can generate resources more in the later turns.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah. There was that middle round where I got some of the starfalls, but then I definitely felt like my engine was lagging.
And we didn't take advantage of it in that game. We should have, but you can win the game, I think, in different ways. Yeah. You can just power through on this, or you can go for the. You didn't have a lot of engine built there, but you just accurately knew where to go, and you got some. So, fantastic. Okay, our second category: components and aesthetics. So this is the massive deluxeified. I think this is the top of the line edition, super deluxe. So not all of the games will look quite like this one, but if you do get this one.
Oh, the components are absolutely fantastic. I think we've talked about the paint jobs, multiple colors on the different painting sculpts. I know sometimes when I buy components, they're unpainted, and I'd love to paint someday, but I know until I retire, that's not going to happen for me. So buying some things that already are pre-painted is a pretty big plus, for sure. They're all weighty. They have
they're durable.
Size to it. They're durable. Right. The sculpts are all very different and unique.
Yeah.
The magnetic feature, again, we're unclear as to whether or not that's in other versions, but wow, it's so great. And the tray, you've uncovered yours there, Flash.
I have, yes.
The mechanism to pick up one of them, so easy, and it has that aesthetic click to it that is really fun. It feels like the toy in that regard. I think the artwork's really cool. I think Sorry.
Well, I was going to say the tableau, having all of your components out in front, made it easy to see what everyone else had, but also easy to see what I had and what I could do. The information on the side was really, really well done, and neither of you were able to look through the rule book, but the rule book was so beautifully laid out with color coordination for the different sections, and
it didn't look like it was too text heavy.
No, and it was very straightforward.
Yeah.
It really helped with the teach.
Yeah, I think the teach with a play as part of it would speed that along too. I think I think these like holographic cards are just really cool. I've actually found that in some of the lights, I actually have to do like a double take on it because I'm not
heavy
used to them.
thickness.
But they are thick, and
even
very
these
cool.
guys are holographic with the print.
The shimmer and stuff. So it's all like really, really cool. One of the things I was noticing with all of that, as a bit of a double take on it, was there's room for everything, but not room for all of your tokens. And did you guys get 12? You guys didn't get, well, there wasn't room for all my excessive stuff.
I had loads of room.
Oh, did you have lots of room?
Yeah.
So it wasn't an issue for you.
It was fine, yeah.
And these trays, they're lightweight, but I'm a little worried if I was playing with a young child and they slammed something this heavy on it that they might crack.
Yeah.
But I mean, the components that you're actually playing the game with are just fantastic.
Well, and one mistake we made when we started the game was we put the purple pieces onto the purple board, and then we realized, wait a minute, you're supposed to put the contrasting color on. I think that's a beautiful touch.
It looks
not
really
only
sharp
for you on camera, but for us just aesthetically. There's a ton of color on the board. I was initially turned off a little bit by that because it looked very convoluted and complicated, but now that I see it laid out here, it just looks gorgeous.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, like, and the other criticism I always have of games is when they use the little wooden cubes. I can't stand that. But for this game, I don't mind at all. I never once batted that because these are nice glossy plastic cubes, and so they're beautifully recessed down into the boards. Like overall, everything is just top of the line.
And they were hardly a central mechanism. They were just counters to identify what you were doing.
Yeah,
that's right.
They weren't supposed to be like a soldier or
that's right.
a ship or a like.
So I take no offense to that.
No, the things that were actual items in the game were items, and then these are just, as you said, counters. So they didn't have to represent a person or something like that.
That's right. Yeah, and just to me, I mean, the fact that we all have our own unique ships makes us feel like we are a different faction. So that leads me to our third category, which is the theme of the game. And for me, a theme has to be absolutely rich, and I want to feel like if it's a stock market game, I want to feel like I'm a trader on the market, you know, right in there. And so for this game, the central premise is that we're these different factions that are collecting starfalls, and do I feel like someone who is going out and mining and setting up my empire and collecting starfall? I absolutely did. It just felt like, oh my gosh, they're coming. Like we're looking up into the sky. They're going to land somewhere, and you know, if we get our astronomers trained in the right place, then we can figure out where that information. But then I can also figure out like, oh my gosh, these guys are moving into position to somewhere. Like, why is he going there? Is it for the resource? Is it? And so there's lots of public information and private information that combine to me to bring that theme where I felt like a competitive, like pirate essentially, and yours like even looks like a pirate ship. So to me the theme really popped. Did you thematically connect with it?
I felt like this did feel like I was swooping in to take an area and also swooping in, and then the tension was, am I going to be able to hold it? Have I guessed properly? Have I guessed too much? You know, I wanted to get it just, you know, should I take us with a 6 or with a 7? You know, that was a meaty decision, and it made me feel like I was invested and that there was an actual conflict going on in front of me.
Absolutely. And actually the other element with these magnets underneath is when I load up my ship and send it out to battle, you don't know what I've got on there cannonball wise. And so am I out there ready to completely crush you with my ship, or have I sent out just kind of a zero distraction and, you know, thrown that on the board to scare you off? So
I didn't use the zero distractions as often as I thought I would.
It's almost universally better to have at least a 1 there than it is across 3 spaces than it is to have
even
one with
with
nothing.
towers. But you know what? We're early days with playing this. Maybe our strategy will evolve to some zeros later on.
I do like the theme of like not knowing how many soldiers or pirates or cannonballs or artillery's on it. I think that immersed me a little bit more. I do like how all the regions are unique in terms of what you get. I don't think there's any. Oh, there is a duplicate of gold and stone.
Right.
I didn't feel like I was in like a lava world. I didn't feel like I was in a desert.
No, that's true.
So those pieces of it didn't immerse me the same way, but it also didn't matter for what, like, I felt very much like these are the targets and we were trying to guess, get information, get there. And then, so for me, the fact that didn't feel molten and then I don't know why those are sinister, that didn't detract from the game.
With that said, I did like how in the first round there's only a few starfalls, but by the end, there were 7 starfalls that were coming, and it felt like the whole board was involved. And guessing where to go if you didn't have the ability to get enough information was
like the
critical.
one time I puzzled out, there must be one there and there must be one there. I could have been wrong, but I ended up being right. And I had to decide who was I going to compete with. Of course, I had to take him. I should have taken you on and maybe tried to break that second place. So fantastic. And something else, do you mind passing the rulebook over? Something that I love when you come to a rulebook like this is it says Guidebook of the Star Seekers. It doesn't say Fractured Sky Rulebook because that's completely boring. So to me, they want to immerse me in the narrative right away. Let's open the book and find out what's inside. Look at this. It doesn't begin with the credits and the year and the publishers and the designers and all that nobody cares about. It starts with a star tore to pieces and fell to the sea. 10 cursed islands arose from the depths. And it gets you right into the story.
So
Go forth.
That's the part that our rule guy didn't read to us. So
that's right.
We missed out on that immersive world building.
I had read it myself. I was there.
I will tell you, it says, go forth, brave adventure, and claim your heart's greatest wish. My greatest wish is to have somebody else teach me a board game because I don't want to read the rules. So in that sense, you absolutely fulfilled your duty there.
Perfect.
Nice.
So our fourth category is comparisons to other games. So Gastel, why don't you start us out? Does this remind you of anything?
Well, immediately with the area control, I haven't played a lot of area control games, but El Grande is sort of the classic area control game. I also thought the way that...
Great first player token in El Grande.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, especially in the original edition.
The original edition is...
check that one out if you haven't seen it.
Kiss.
Yeah.
And then the progression of objectives coming out slowly over time reminded me a little bit of Twilight Imperium. Now, I know Twilight Imperium stole that from another game, but this just felt to me like there was something happening in the future.
That's right. Yeah. To me, this reminds me of a game called Article 27. Probably not many of you have played.
Yes, I love that game.
But you have your tokens hidden behind a screen and that sort of hidden information in your vine for trying to get people to pass an omnibus bill, essentially. It's a very different game.
Well, even the hidden knowledge here was a little bit like Article 27, because in Article 27 you set your agenda for that particular conference, whereas here I know these particular objectives. Now you're watching what I'm doing to try to figure out what those objectives are.
Yes, very much so. And one other game that recently came out was Apiary from Stonemaier Games, and that one's got sort of the worker placement element where you're just vying and jockeying for position on the board. And to me, when you're placing these structures and setting up your infrastructure, it felt a little bit that way, a little bit of an engine builder in the same way. So.
I have heard though that Apiary is just a B game though.
Wah, wah. Well done. And
may I add too? I feel like some of that, as you were talking about the hidden information, it felt a little bit like Hidden Leaders to me in a way. Where when you have some information, which everybody can access for a price, but then as people play moves, you're trying to guess and decipher what that hidden information is.
Absolutely.
In this one, you can actually pay to find out if you have the resources. But still, that idea of like, and then even what's underneath here. Right, that kind of bluff of did he move that token on purpose in the other game, and in this one, is he actually going after the region? Yeah,
absolutely. So we'll move on to our final category, which is the upside downside. And this is where I'll just open up to you guys to say, what did you like? What did you not like? What would you change? And this is our real feedback holistically.
I was worried at first that the deluxification was a gloss on a mediocre game.
Right.
But that was quickly dispelled. I was thoroughly engaged for this whole game. We actually played a short game first, and then we played the full game for our video, and I could happily set this up and play another game right now.
Me too. Yeah.
I want to see if I can do better now that I know.
Yes.
And that for me is a hallmark of a great game. With that said, the eye candy is just on every single component here. It fits beautifully into the box
nice
with
organizers.
a great, and that's not Game Trays. That's a new company that's making trays, and they've done a stellar job.
Okay, yeah.
It's Black Magic, I think they're
seems
called.
like everything has a perfect home in the way it's all layered and fit in there.
Well, it was funny because when you finished reading the rule book, you said, the game looks a little meh. I mean, it's so gorgeous and it looks a little meh, but then we played it and, I mean, quickly you retracted that and said, no, it's, and part of that I think comes from the interaction of the players. He didn't know how fun Resky and I were going to be, so
You should have
fantastic.
known.
Let's do an upside from you if you've got any.
Yeah, again, I think I come back to the aesthetic. The gameplay was fun. I never felt like I was waiting around for my turn. I often felt like, oh no, I have to go again. There's enough where I have to kind of watch what you're doing because of the information that you're getting and the actions you're taking as a result. So I never felt like there was like downtime where I wanted to like pull out my phone and check a score of a game or anything like that. So I felt like very much like it was quick paced. Even though there's 5 rounds, I never thought like, okay, there's still 3 more rounds to go. So for me, it was no downtime for any type of boredom to build up, and always kind of cool decisions. And I don't think there's really too many horrible decisions you could make either, unless you just got your ships out without spending any resources, I guess. But like there was no like getting information's good, building something's good, playing a ship is.
It all felt very rewarding.
Yeah.
Everything you did. Yeah, absolutely. I would very much echo a lot of your positives. So beautiful aesthetic, beautiful gameplay. Ivy Studios came out with Moonrakers. I've played that game with you. It's one of my favorite games right now, and it's a beautiful game, beautiful mechanisms. Whatever Ivy Studios is doing, it is impressing me. Fantastic. Veiled Fate is on our agenda to play that one soon. Again, pulled it out of the box, and just every component just looks gorgeous. And I mean, you pull this out with friends, and it just feels like this is a cool looking game, you know? So I absolutely love that.
Setup time was a little long, getting everything out of the box, getting in on the right spot. But with that said, I did it all myself while you guys were
just hanging out.
And maybe if all of us had been there, it would have been like because we actually changed our factions between the first mini game and the second, and that didn't take very long.
And it didn't. No, I felt that was fun. It was kind of fun because it feels like okay, I'm getting myself organized, and board gamers love organizing.
Yeah.
So very good. Downsides. You've already mentioned you're worried about potentially the tray breaking.
Potentially tray. I mean, an extra little ring for maybe all the components was what I had said. But I mean, I think those are minor things.
No serious gripes.
I think the gameplay itself was fun. I think there was a cool balance to it.
There are 3D printed models for making little containers for these that fit in the box without any box lift.
Perfect. Okay.
Beautiful. Yeah. And I mean, with the heavy weighted components, I'm sure the box is already hefty enough, and they've done such a great job of packing that in. I think one of the things I'd say is, and maybe this is just me learning and me making sure I actually pay attention to what's happening, but I did find that some of the coloration, it was hard for me to remember or see or stand out.
Yes.
That this region's attached there to both of them, and maybe that's a little bit of the subterfuge of the game. You put that over there and it's quiet and people forget about it.
Oh, interesting, yeah.
But at the same time, it's a minor thing.
And I think familiarity with the game, that will go away.
For sure.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Downsides for you?
Maybe just the setup time, but to be quite honest, this was just a very solid game from top to bottom, and every single time I grabbed something and it surprised me, like the holographic cards, the different sculpts, the magnetic pieces, every single thing. It was just like when we first opened up this box, it was like surprise after surprise after surprise. And then, like I said, I was meh on it, and then I was surprised by the good play. Downside, maybe this could be almost anything else. It could be Pirates of the Caribbean, and it would feel exactly the same thing.
The board is disconnected from everything else,
but they picked a theme and they stuck with it, and the art is beautiful, and I'm happy to be immersed in the Fractured Sky universe for the 90 minutes it takes to play a full game.
There is no different powers for this race over my race.
No, it's not asymmetrical.
And I don't know anything about my race compared to your race in terms of what they do, or the regions, as I mentioned earlier. But again, it didn't affect my gameplay. I don't think it.
That's right.
Or my enjoyment.
Yeah, well, I certainly had a ton of fun. You guys covered all my downsides, so to me it was the iconography, and just like, so this guy here, what is he connected to? It felt a bit muddled, but as you pointed out, then maybe that's part of the subterfuge of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely.
That's fantastic. Okay, so thank you for joining us today. I hope this review was useful, and if it was, please give us a like, subscribe. Now, don't forget to get out there.
Get gaming.
And be legendary.